I welcome you to the CLEEO 7.0 Summit. CLEEO is an abbreviation for Counseling Latinos for Equity and Engagement at Orange Coast College. And it's a project that has multiple services and activities. We provide academic honors counseling, as well as we have an honors course titled the Chicano Latino Experience in Higher Education. And we also have a Cuellar Family Scholarship for transferring students. But most of all, what we're known for is for having a guest lecture series. And this is our 7th semester that we've had guest scholars here at Orange Coast Community College, and today is no exception. We have today a speaker who has received the Presidential Medal of Freedom, as well as the Eleanor Roosevelt Human Rights Award, and her name is Dolores Huerta, and she'll be here today. But all of the guest speakers and scholars that we feature here at OCC for the CLEEO project are speakers that have national and global notoriety, and today is no exception again. So I thank you for taking the time to attend this important event, a historical moment here at Orange Coast College. And with no further ado, I'm going to welcome our Orange Coast Community College President, Dr. Angelica Suarez.
Good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing? My goodness, I walked in here and I said, this is a full house. This is great. So this is a very special CLEEO event this morning, an incredible summit where we are honored to have with us someone that really has been a champion for civil rights. You're going to hear more from her, but this is one of the great women of the 20th century of American history. Dolores Huerta has been someone that has championed peace and environmental issues, was served as a co-founder of the Farm Workers Union. So and I know you've just learned a lot about her watching the video. You also know that she was a recipient of the Eleanor Roosevelt Award of Human Rights, and also was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Orange Coast College, we are absolutely honored to have someone like Dolores Huerta here today to share with us her experience and really allow you, the students, to learn about her path and what she has done. So with that, we welcome Dolores Huerta to Orange Coast College. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Suarez. Now I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Rebecca Ogas, Orange Coast College counselor, and she'll share a few kind words about our guest, Dolores Huerta.
Good morning, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dr. Rebecca Ogas, as Eric stated, and I am a counselor here at OCC and serve on the IMC committee, which is the Inter-Multicultural Center Committee. I am so excited to be here today and to have the opportunity to introduce our guest speaker and family friend, Dolores C. Huerta. Today's task of introducing our guest of honor and speaker is a great privilege. I know this one is difficult, but the thought that she is a woman of virtue and simplicity, I feel elated to introduce her to everyone here at OCC. After all, she is a living inspiration to the young ones and the young ones. What I mean by that is our parents and our children. So, ladies and gentlemen, Dolores Huerta is president and founder of the Dolores Huerta Foundation. She is a celebrated Latina labor leader, activist, and community organizer. She has worked for civil rights and social justice for over 50 years. In 1962, she and Cesar Chavez founded the United Farm Workers Union. She served as vice president and played a critical role in many of the union's accomplishments for 4 decades. In 2002, she received the Puffin Nation $100,000 prize for creative citizenship, which she used to establish the Dolores Huerta Foundation. Dolores Huerta Foundation connects community-based organizing to state and national movements to register and educate voters advocate for education reform, bring about infrastructure, implements in low-income communities, advocate for greater equality for the LGBT community, and create strong leadership development. Now, a little bit about her early life. Dolores Clara Fernandez was born on April 10, 1930 in Dawson, a mining town in the mountains of New Mexico. Her father, Juan Fernandez, a farm worker and miner by trade, was a union activist who ran for political office and won a seat in the New Mexico legislature in 1938. Her mother, Alicia Chavez, was an independent businesswoman. She owned and ran a 70-room hotel. Dolores spent most of her childhood and early adult life in Stockton, California, where she and her 2 brothers moved with their mother following their parents' divorce. Her personal life. Huerta was married twice and had a long-term relationship with Richard Chavez, the brother of Cesar Chavez. She has 11 children and many grand and great-grandchildren. Most of her children have dedicated their lives to public service. Let's talk a little bit about her honors. Dolores is a 2-time U.S. Presidential Award recipient. She received the Medal of Freedom Award from President, I'm talking English and Spanish. It's because I was talking to her a lot this morning, so I'm like, okay, English, Spanish. From President Obama in 2012. The highest civilian award in the United States, and the Eleanor D. Roosevelt Human Rights Award from President Clinton in 1998. And she was also personally praised by J.F. Kennedy before his death. She has received many other awards, including Mexico's Order of the Aztec Eagle Award, the highest decoration award by the Mexican government for foreign nationals, the James Smithson Award from the Smithsonian Institution, the Icons of the American Civil Rights Movement Award, bestowed to her in 2011 by the National Civil Rights Museum. Huerta is a U.S. Department of Labor Hall of Honor inductee, and she was the first Latina inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame. She is a former UC Regent and has earned honorary doctorates from universities throughout the United States. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Dolores C. Huerta.
Good morning, everybody. Buenos dias. How is everybody? Okay, it's so nice to be here with you in Orange County. I want to just say that, this is kind of a historic area, Orange County. I think you all know that, right? And you just saw the video about the kind of work that we do in the Dolores Huerta Foundation. And we do what we call this grassroots organizing. And of course, the person that taught us how to do the grassroots organizing was a man named Fred Ross. Is there anybody in the audience that knows who that is? Raise your hand if you do. Nobody. Okay. And the reason you don't know who he is, because he was such a great organizer. Oh, okay, that's good. Okay, thank you. He was such a great organizer that nobody knows who he is, and that's what organizers do. Basically, what an organizer does is you go into a community and you try to tell people that they have power, like you saw in the video. And this is the way that our foundation organizes people. We hire organizers, we send them into a community, and you never know who the leaders are going to be, because sometimes it's the most quietest person in the area. But the thing is that so we ask them, what is it that you want to change in your community? And of course, they always have a laundry list of the things that they want to change. And then we have them make a plan. If you want to change this in your community, well, this is how you do it. But then guess what? You have to volunteer to do the work, okay? And of course, when they start doing the work, then that's when you can tell who the leaders are going to be, because you never know ahead of time who they're going to be. And anyway, Mr. Ross, I was talking about him, and by the way, it's kind of interesting because he organized Cesar Chavez, and of course, we know that that's where the farm workers movement came when the farm workers went on strike, and then the students went on strike, and then the whole Chicano movement started all over California, and then it went into Texas and New Mexico and Arizona. So who would know that the godfather of the Chicano movement is actually a gringo, an Anglo? And the reason I mention his name is because actually it was here in Orange County where Fred Ross started that whole method of organizing. I know if I ask this question, you're going to know the answer. How many of you know about the lawsuit about Mendes versus Westminster? Okay, I see a lot of hands. Okay, for those of you that don't know, this was a lawsuit that was filed here in Orange County against the School Board of Education here because they had the Mexican students segregated in one school and the Anglo kids in another school. And of course, the school for the Mexican students was very inferior to that of the white students. And the person who organized the people, the families to file that lawsuit was none other than Fred Ross Sr., okay? He's the one that organized. And so anytime that anybody mentions that lawsuit, ask them, what about this guy named Fred Ross, okay? He's the one that organized the people to file the lawsuit. But a lot of people don't know about him. And the whole thing about the story is that Fred Ross, you know, when he talked to the farm workers in that area, because they were farm workers actually, and they were telling him about this problem that they had with the school system, and he said he called together a meeting with all of the business people and the religious leaders and the so-called leaders of the community, but he said they all started fighting each other, you know, about who's going to take the credit for the work. And so then one of the farm workers said, so Mr. Ross said that he didn't know what to do at that point. And then one of the farm workers said to him, Mr. Ross, come over to my house. I'm going to get some of my friends together so we can talk about this problem, okay? And so that's what he did. So it was the farm workers themselves in Orange County that came up with a solution. Okay, let's meet with the people and ask them to join us and see what we can do to solve the problem. And that's exactly what they did, okay? So, but it's kind of interesting when we talk about those racial inequities in the school system that existed way back then. Well, we know, guess what? They still exist today. They still exist today. And one of the things that my foundation is working on is stopping the school-to-prison pipeline. Because in Kern County, where I live in Bakersfield, California, we had to sue our Kern High School district because they actually expelled, threw out of school, 2,600 students in a year and a half. 2,600. Most of those were African American students and Latinos. 600 times higher than the white kids, okay? And of all of those 2,600 that they expelled, only 10% of those students had done anything that really would have caused them to be expelled. So guess what? We filed a lawsuit against them with the Mexican American Legal Defense Fund, California Rural Legal Assistance, and we won, okay? We won. So now what they have to do is they had to train all of the teachers not to be so racist, and what they call it implicit bias. And they had to change some of the behaviors that they use, bring in what they call positive behavior intervention systems, restorative justice systems, and from 2,600 expulsions, it is now, in the last year, it was only 26. So there's another area that we're working on called California City. It's up in the high desert. And you know what the expulsions there of African American students? Oh, thank you. It was African American students were being suspended and expelled 81%, 8 out of 10 students. And not only that, but what they would do is when the students would do something wrong, they would call the police. And they wouldn't call the parents. They would call the police, and they would take the kids out of school, take them down, even in elementary school. And right away, they have a police record. That is called the school to prison pipeline, okay? And we know that this is something that's going on in California, it's going on all over the country. Excuse me. Oh, I'm good, thank you. So, of course, one of the ways that we have to change this whole system, and it's not just in California, it's happening in Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, it's happening in New York State. You know, everywhere you go, our kids of color are not getting the kind of education that they're supposed to get, what we call an equitable education. So the way that we, as you saw in the video, the way that we are doing this is by organizing the parents. And then what we want to do is get our people to run for school board. So, and I'm to give you an example, you saw one of the women there in the video, se llama Leticia Prado. So, when she and her husband, to show you how people have power, she and her husband, they wanted to get a fence around the school because one of the children ran off from the school and it's all surrounded by fields. So they went and they talked to the principal, and then they had another problem. The kids could not play outside because the air pollution is so bad. You know, Bakersfield, California, that's where we have all this oil that comes from, all the petroleum. So they went door to door to get signatures to put a fence around the school. And then the principal said, well, why don't we try to get a gymnasium for the kids, okay? So they said, okay. So they passed a bond issue, and they passed that bond issue with over 71% of the vote, and they have a brand new gymnasium at the school for the kids, a brand new gymnasium, and they're the ones that went out there and fought to get that gymnasium built. And then she said, well, I think I'll just run for the school board, okay? Well, Leticia Prado is an immigrant from Mexico, speaks very broken English, but she decided to run for the school board anyway. And she won. And the principal of the school wanted to get rid of the breakfast program for the farm worker children. Well, guess what she did? She got rid of the principal and kept the program for the farm worker kids, okay? And then she thought, well, I'm going to try to get elected to the water board, okay? That's in another little town close by. And so she ran for the water board, and she got elected to the water board. And then she found out that the person that they had just hired as a manager had been fired from another place for embezzlement. So she got rid of him. And then she started looking at the bank records and found out that there was $250,000 missing, $250,000 missing. So she called the grand jury to come and investigate, and now people have gone to jail for that. One farm worker woman, okay, who speaks very broken English, but she demands that all the meetings be translated into Spanish. And that is what we call power, okay? People power. And this is what our foundation is doing, trying to, organize people in the community so that they can take the power and we can change and get rid of some of the racism that exists in our society. Now, and one of the things that I do believe, and I'm going to quote Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, racism is a sickness. Racism is an illness. And it's something that all of us have to work to get rid of. We have to get rid of racism. We have to heal it. And we know where it comes from. It comes from slavery, right? It comes from slavery and this is one of the things that I think we have to change in our school systems. I'm saying this to the teachers behind me, is that we have to start teaching in our school systems where racism comes from. And we don't, in our school books, it is not in our school books that who were the first slaves? Native Americans. Okay, have we ever said thank you to Native Americans for the land that where the school is built? We've never said thank you. Have Native Americans ever been compensated from the land that we took from them? No. Not only that, but in our school books, is it in our school books written or taught that the Congress and the White House in Washington, D.C. was built by African slaves? And a lot of the federal buildings over there and in our country, African slaves built a lot of the United States of America. And then the immigrants also that came from Mexico, from the Philippines, from Japan, from India, from China, that built our country. That's not taught in our schools. And it's got to be taught starting with kindergarten and first grade. Because if we do not teach this in our schools, then our children of color never get the dignity that they deserve, you know? Never get the dignity that they deserve. And our white children, unfortunately, they get that poison of white supremacy and white privilege, and that hatred, you know, not liking people that don't look like you or that speak a different language. You know, somehow we've got to get rid of this. And think about this too. You know how Donald Trump said that they wanted to build a wall in Colorado? Anybody hear about that? Okay. I'm just going to say to all of you, Google a map of the United States before 1847. Because if you Google the map of before 1847, you will be surprised what you will see, that a third of the United States was Mexico. A third of the United States was Mexico. It's going to be a shocker when you look at that. And so when they tell us Latinos, go back where you came from, we got to say, we are where we came from, okay? Because we didn't cross the border crossed us, okay? And the other thing is that we have, so when we trying to get rid of racism, it's actually science. This is it, it's science. First of all, we only have one human race. Only one human race. In fact, we should get rid of the word race. Yeah, because we only have one human race, okay? We have a lot of different ethnic groups, we have a lot of different nationalities, we have a lot of different cultures. But, okay, well, our human race is Homo sapiens. And where did our human race begin? Africa, right? Do we all know that? Human race began in Africa. And then our human race traveled across the planet, went to Asia, came down to the Bering Strait to the Americas. People lost a little bit of color. And then one of our tribes, you know, they went way up north to Europe, where it's really cold, and they lost their color. Now they have to go to the tanning salon or to the beach to get the color back. So what does that mean? What does that mean? That means that we are all Africans of different shades and colors. Think about that. We are all Africans of different shades and colors, you know? Yeah, that's what we are. So we can say to the KKK, the white nationalists, get over it, you're Africans already, okay? Get over it. So we are all one human race. And the only way that our human race survived on this planet is that we had to take care of each other. We had to support each other. So I'm going to ask you all to do me a favor, okay? Take the hand of the person next to you. Take the hand of the person next to you. Over here. I'm looking at you. Turn to that person and say, hello, relative. So, just think about that. We are all related to President Obama. We're all related. We're all related to J-Lo. We're all related to Senator Robert Kennedy and his people, you know, his relatives. We are all related, okay? Let's always just remember that. And so that we have to start breaking down the hatred. And a lot of times, a lot of these people, the haters of the world, you know, they try to divide us. They try to divide us, you know. They try to divide us. But the thing is that we cannot any longer, in our United States of America, how can we have a system where we raise people to hate somebody because of the color of their skin, or because of their religion, or because they're gay, or transgender, or because they're women, And so we have to change that, and we got to start teaching it in our schools, but to kind of stop the hatred, But we have to do it. And when I talked about it being an illness, then all of us have to look at ourselves as healers. We have to look at ourselves as healers. It's going to take a lot of us working on this together to be able to get rid of the hatred. Because when that hatred becomes so strong that somebody's going to kill people in El Paso, Texas, because they're Mexicans, or they're going to kill people in Dayton, Ohio, because they're African Americans, or they're going to kill people in New Jersey because they're Jews, or killing people because they're Muslims. We have to stop that hate. And I know when I say this, and I know because I was a former teacher, that as teachers, you can tell when children are troubled, when children have a problem. So we know that one of the things that we have to do is we have to make sure we raise more money for our teachers, so that they can be social workers, and they can be nurses, and our teachers can get paid enough money so that they can spot when children have problems. And let me just mention this really quickly too, before I forget. We're going to be passing petitions. I don't think we brought it up for this audience, but somebody in your school will have to send these petitions down here. And this is a petition that we're going to try to raise $12 billion for our school systems, okay? And this will be on the ballot in November of 2020. And how are we going to get that money? Well, you know what? The rich corporations, many here in California, that do not pay their fair share of property taxes. People like Disneyland, people like Chevron, okay? And this proposition is called Schools and Communities First, so we'll be sending people over here later on to be able to get signatures from everybody here, okay? If you're 18 and you're a citizen, you can sign this petition. And I don't have enough for all this audience today, but we will be coming back to get signatures from everybody to raise the money that we need to be able to do this. Because we can end the racism. We can end it, but it's going to take all of us to do it. The other thing that they do, okay, like they try to divide us by not only pitting us one against another, but then saying, well, people are gays, or lesbians, or transgender, or women who, we want to talk about women's reproductive rights, and every woman should have the right to decide with her own body whether she wants to have children or not, right? But I know that, yeah, women should have the right to abortion. I say this as a mother of 11 children. But that was my choice. My daughter Juanita prefers dogs, okay, because they don't talk back. So this is and I want to say this to especially our Latinos in the audience here. When you talk to your families and they talk about these issues about gay rights or women's rights, reproductive rights, say what Benito Juárez said. El respeto al derecho ajeno es la paz. Respecting other people's rights is peace. How many children a woman wants to have, that is her right. Who somebody wants to live with or marry, that is their human right. If they want to marry somebody of the same sex, that doesn't affect you. That is their human right. So, and the other thing is we shouldn't let religion tell us how to vote. We should not let religion tell us how to vote. And I think this is very, very important because a lot of times we let ourselves be governed by other authorities or people in government. How can you have a bunch of men in government saying to a woman, what her rights should be or not be? That is totally wrong. But these are things that we have to change, and they do this to divide us, to keep people confused. Well, and you know why they do that? To keep away from the real issues. What are the real issues? The real issues are economic issues. Do you know that 1% of the wealthy families in the United States own 50% of the wealth? 1%, including the Waltons, who own Walmart. Friends don't let their friends shop at Walmart, okay? Why? Because they're very anti-union. They don't pay their workers. They don't give them enough hours to even be able to qualify for their medical plan. So you think you're saving money, but that's at a human expense, okay? So that's that 1% that own 50% of the wealth. 10% of the wealthy families and the wealthy corporations, guess what? They own 90% of the wealth. Think about that. 90% of the wealth of the United States of America is owned by 10% of the families and the wealthy corporations. That kind of boggles your mind. The United States is the richest country in the world. We are the richest country in the world. And yet, what do we not have that other countries have? You've heard the politicians talking about free education, free college tuition for all of our citizens in the United States of America. Free college tuition, okay? We don't have it here. But guess where they have it? They have it in Europe. They have it in Latin America. They even have it in Cuba. Little tiny Cuba that has an economic boycott by the United States of America. Every person in Cuba goes to college free. You know what else they have? They also have this in Europe and in Latin America. Free medical care. Free medical care. There's a lot of conversation right now about Obamacare and about whether people should have health care or not. Yeah, other countries have it. But we, the richest country in the world, do not. We do not have that. But we're supposed to have it. And I'm saying this because these are things that are attainable for us. But we have to get involved, we have to get active, we have to elect people to office that are going to get us there. And when they say that there's not enough money for it, there is a lot of money. I just mentioned to you where all the money's at. It's all up here. It's not with the people. So these are the things that we have to change in our country if we're going to have a better world and a better country. You know, and there was a Spanish philosopher, Jose Ortega y Gasset, and he said this: if you do not have an educated citizenry in the country, then what you have is that the corrupt and the greedy will govern. They will take control of a government. And that's kind of what's happening in our United States of America right now. Do you know, like, you heard about all of the fires in California? You know, you heard about PG&E and all of the fires that were started because they didn't keep up their big transformers that they have? This is a public utility. You know who owns PG&E? A bunch of investors, a bunch of rich people. This is a public utility. It should be owned by the people, not by a group of investors. How is all this happening to us, okay? How is all of this happening to us? And who's paying for all of this? We are. We are the ones that are paying for all of this. But there is a way to change it. And the only way to change that is for all of us to be able to get involved, you know? To be able to get out there and vote and register to vote to make the changes that need to be made. Because if we don't work to make it happen, like the lady I talked about, Leticia Prado, if we don't work to make it happen, everything is going to stay the same. And it's kind of interesting. You know, we heard about the refugees at the border. All of those people that are in cages over there. And they come from where? They come from Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras. I'm going to say the word bananas. How many bananas do we eat every single day in the United States of America? Jillions of bananas. But the money that we spend for bananas, does it go to the people in Guatemala or El Salvador or Honduras where the bananas come from? No. The money goes to Chiquita Banana. It goes to Dole Banana. You know? Dole Banana, the 50 banana companies, United States companies, they are the ones that get all of the money that is produced by the people in Guatemala, all of the produce. And the people in Guatemala should be getting that money, right? Not the American banana companies. So we have to kind of change our foreign policies again, instead of us exploiting those countries, we should be helping them with our technology and everything that we know. It was kind of interesting, you know, after World War II, I mean, I think I'm the oldest person in the room here today, okay? But, but I grew up during that period of time of World War II. What happened after World War II? They had something called the Marshall Plan. So we defeated Japan and Germany in World War II. So what did we do after we defeated them? Well, guess what? American tax dollars went to Japan and to Germany to help the corporations to get strong again. So you have Toyota, you know, Mitsubishi, who built the tanks that killed American soldiers. Well, we helped those corporations get strong in Japan. And Volkswagen in Germany, they built the tanks that killed American soldiers during World War II. Well, American tax dollars, you know, we were able to give Germany the money so the corporations could become strong again. Not only that, but you know what they have, like in places like Germany? They have like daycare for women. They have all of these social programs. So women can go to work or families can go to work and don't have to worry about their kids. That was also paid for with American tax dollars. Things that we don't have here in the United States. That was called the Marshall Plan. Okay, and that's how Japan and Germany became strong. But we don't use that when we talk about our borders, our neighbors to the south, that we have never been at war with, you know. All of our foreign policy has been to exploit those people. Even thinking about the war in the Middle East. They were having all of these marches before the war in Iraq happened. And there was a woman that had a sign, and it said, "How did our oil get under their sand?" How did our oil get under their sand? So again, when we think of our foreign policies, we should think of a way that we can actually help other countries with the resources and the knowledge and the talent that we have, instead of trying to exploit those countries the way that we have done in the past. So I think that could happen. But again, we have to have a new vision. We have to have a new vision and a way of using our foreign policies to help people instead of taking from them what we should. And when some of the other countries, they don't agree, like Cuba, they don't agree with our system that we have, our economic system, then we make them our enemies. We don't like them. So we have to think about how we change that, okay? Now, one of the ways, of course, I talked about how we all have to get involved, but you know what Coretta Scott King said? We will never have peace in the world until women take power. Okay, I have kind of changed that. I have changed that to say, we will never have peace in the world until feminists take power. So when you ask what is a feminist is somebody who believes in immigrants' rights, who believes in workers' rights, who believes in women's reproductive rights, who believes in LGBT rights, and who believes in that we should definitely try to save our planet, right? Somebody who cares about global warming and our environment. That's what a feminist is. So, and the reason I said that is because I know that we have a lot of men in the room that are also feminists, okay? So let's give them a big applause also. So when we see these meetings that are being held all over the world, and you look on television and you see all of these men that are sitting at a table making these very important decisions, we have to say, if there are not any feminists at that table, they're going to make the wrong decision, okay? They're going to make the wrong decision. So we've got to work very hard to be able to be at that table. And I want to say a word for the women in the room also here, okay? You know, the United States, we are one of the countries that has the least amount of women in terms of our presidents and in our senators. I know in the last election we got a lot more women elected to Congress. But we as feminists have also got to, as women, we've got to be able to make ourselves strong. And unfortunately, in our educational system, again, we don't really educate our women to know that they can be strong and that they can be leaders. In fact, in our society, unfortunately, we have always taught women to be victims. When we think of Prince Charming, right? Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, they're going to wait for Prince Charming to come along and give them a kiss and wake them up, and they're going to live happily ever after? Well, usually just the opposite happens, okay? A pretender Prince Charming comes, gives you a kiss, puts you to sleep, and then baby's daddy's gone. Donde se fue? You know, where'd he go? So we definitely have to educate our young women, again, from the time that they're in elementary school, that they are going to have to support themselves. They're going to have to protect themselves. They're going to have to take care of themselves. They're going to have to learn how to work and have a career so that they do not have to depend on anybody to support them, okay? On anybody to support them. So our women have got to learn to be strong, because we know that women, we are equally as intelligent as men, right? Can I have an affirmation here? And that we can be leaders just like men are. And I want to say to all the women in the room, you know, when you aspire for a position or a job and you're thinking, well, maybe I just don't have the education or I don't have the preparation that I need, you know, do it just like the guys do. Pretend that you do and learn on the job. Okay. Yeah, that's what we have to do as women, okay? And you know, we have something very special. Did any of you get to see that movie Harriet, about Harriet Tubman? Anybody here see that movie? Oh, Tommy's the only one? Well, if you get a chance, check it out. Check it out. This is a story about Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman was a very famous woman who actually was a slave, and then she was able to escape to the north, and then she started the Underground Railroad. She was one of the people that did the Underground Railroad, and she freed hundreds of slaves. But she had something that I think women have. And I kind of want to talk about it because when I saw the movie myself, I thought, oh my God, I know what that is. It's called women's intuition. And I want to say to all the women here, when you get that feeling really strong that you know something isn't right or that something should be changed, and what do? A lot of times we just keep it to ourselves, right? Because we're afraid if I say this, it doesn't look rational, nobody's going to believe me, and we keep it to ourselves. And you know, when that happens, we're doing something wrong. So we have to learn how to speak out and speak up. And even if we feel like we might be embarrassed, maybe what we're saying seems to be out of place or inappropriate, but you know what? Learn to do that. Because it's okay, even if people sometimes criticize you for it, you know, but we have to use our voices. We have to use our voices. And I'm saying this as somebody that learned how to do that for myself. And you know, when Cesar and I were building the farm workers movement, there are many times when we would have these big arguments with Cesar. Yes, I fought with Cesar Chavez, okay? And because I felt sometimes that what the decisions we were making were going to be wrong. And I'll give you a couple of examples, okay? We did what we called a great boycott. I know you guys are so young. Has anybody here heard of the Great Boycott? Raise your hand if you have. Okay, a lot of people. Well, that's how we won. We went on strike. They would put us in jail. They were bringing more strike breakers, and we didn't know how we were going to win our struggle. And one of our attorneys said to us, have you ever thought of doing a boycott of grapes? Well, he said a boycott. And then Caesar and I had this big argument because he thought, well, we should boycott potatoes. I said, no, Caesar, when people think of California, they don't think of potatoes. When you think of Idaho, you think of potatoes, but not California. So we had this big fight, and then I won, so we boycotted grapes, okay? But that was my women's intuition, okay? That was my woman's intuition, and I was right. And sometimes when I didn't use my voice, then sometimes we made these major, major mistakes. And when I saw the Harriet Tubman movie, it reminded me of that. So I would just say to all the women out here, never be afraid to speak up or use your voice and listen to that women's intuition that you have. Now, maybe men have it also. I'm not sure. I mean, you guys can know whether you have it or not. Tommy Tucson said, he said you do have it. Okay, I guess men have it there. But sometimes we hold ourselves back, because we think people won't listen to us. But that's that special gift that we have, that magic that we have to be able to use that magic and never be afraid to use it, okay? Because when we don't, another thing too, sometimes we think, oh, these problems are so big, how can we possibly handle them? And I know a lot of you young people think, oh man, I wish I would have lived during the 60s. Guess what? We're back. Because so many of the issues that we're confronting today, you might say might be left over from the 60s, Because in the 60s, we had all these cultural movements. That's when the environmental movement was started. It was like the second or third wave of the women's movement. The immigrant rights movement was started then, the LGBT movement was started then also. But that kind of power, people power, was what made changes. But as I said a little while ago, this movement is different that we're in now. This movement is different because this is an economic rights movement. It's an economic rights movement. You all have got to fight for your rights to have the economic security that you deserve as young people in the United States of America. But you're going to have to fight for it. And the reason I mentioned the boycott, because sometimes you think, oh, these issues are too big. We really can't handle them. Well, when we did that great boycott, we were fighting Ronald Reagan, the governor of California, who was against us. We were fighting President Nixon, who was against us. We were fighting the Farm Bureau Federation, the biggest organization of growers, and all of the agricultural industry in California was against the farm workers. Who were the farm workers? Poor Mexicans, Filipinos, African Americans, and Okies. Some of the poor white people. These were who were the farm workers. Again, no money. Many couldn't speak English. Many weren't citizens. And we were going up against these big powers in the country. And we won. And when we started that great boycott that I was talking about, there were 40 farm workers and some volunteers, some young Anglo volunteers that dropped out of school to come and help us. They got on a bus, 40, and they went all the way to New York City, from Delano, California, all the way to New York City. In a year and a half, they had convinced 17 million Americans not to eat grapes. Think about that. 40 people went all the way across the country and convinced 17 million Americans not to eat grapes. How did they do that? By talking. Going to schools like this, going to colleges, going to churches, going to labor unions, talking to people and asking them to support the farm workers and not eat grapes. So it happened. So when we think about the problems that we have here in our state of California, well, we're more than 40 people in this room right now, right? We're more than 40 people in this room. And we don't have to organize the whole United States of America. We just have to organize our own state of California. That's all that we have to do. Or our own county here. And this is all that we have to do. So it's just by talking to people. And sometimes they don't agree with us. But that's okay. The main thing you have to do is not get angry and don't hate them, okay? Just have a lot of patience with them when we talk to them about these issues, about why they have to get involved and why they should be voting. And let me ask another question here. How many of you voted in the last election? Raise your hands. That is a really, really good showing, okay? Now I'm gonna ask another question. How many of you actually went out there and knocked door to door and canvassed to get other people out to vote? Let me see those hands. Doesn't look too good. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you all to do me a big favor. No, I'm gonna ask you to do yourselves a favor. I'm gonna ask you to do yourselves a favor. For this next election, could you please volunteer with some candidate that you like, okay? And go out there and knock on doors to get somebody else elected. Because every door that you knock on, then you will be able to convince them to vote. And a lot of people, they're really confused. They hear a lot of stuff on television or on the radio, and they don't even know why they should be voting. And a lot of people think, well, it doesn't do any good, my vote doesn't matter, my vote doesn't count, but it does count. In the state of Virginia, last election, they have their state election. They lost the state legislature by one vote. One vote. Just one vote. So please, and if you've never done this before, I'll tell you, it's really good exercise for you, okay? And when you talk to people, it helps you build up your emotional fortitude. Yeah, I have to tell, I am 90 years old in April of next year. And I still go out there and I go canvassing. I knock on doors, to get people to vote, okay? In fact, there's something else that's really important that's going on right now, and it's called the census. Now, all of you are thinking, well, why is that important? Well, the census is not going to be until April of 2020, and actually the questionnaires are going to arrive in March. Why is that important? Because a lot of people don't know that it's important, and they're not going to participate. They're not going to fill out that questionnaire. But a lot of people are going to be afraid, because from the day that Trump came down on that escalator attacking Mexicans as criminals and rapists, with all of the deportations, a lot of people tienen miedo. They're going to be afraid to participate. But we have to tell them, don't be afraid. They wanted to put a question, if you're a citizen or not, on the questionnaire. Guess what? We sued them and we won. We beat Trump. We beat him. So there's not going to be any question about citizenship on the questionnaire. So people don't have to be afraid. The other thing we have to tell them is the census is confidential. Nobody can share the information. If they do, they can go to prison for 5 years and pay a $250,000 fine. So people don't have to be afraid. But why is it important? I'll tell you why. For every one of us that gets counted, you know how much money that brings into our community? $20,000. $20,000 in a 10-year period, okay? So that means if all these people over here do not get counted, think about how much money you're going to lose right here in this county. Every single person that gets counted is $2,000 a year, over $20,000 in 10 years. The federal government gives out $800 billion a year. And how do they know where to send that money? By how many people there are in the county. So if you don't get counted, the money doesn't come in. And where did that money come from? It's our money that we pay in income taxes. Or when we buy and we buy something and there's a federal tax on it, it's our money coming back here to us. But if we don't get counted, the money's not going to be there. And what is the money used for? Schools, housing, healthcare, okay? That's what the money is going to be used for. So if we don't get counted, we're going to lose the money. So I'm going to ask all of you, please talk to your family, talk to your neighbors, talk to everybody. We please participate in the census, okay? Please. And if people don't want somebody to come to their house, they can actually do it online, on the cell phones, on the computer, or go to the local library. They can start in March of 2020. But it's going to be so crucial, especially for the Latino community. We have to tell them, no tengan miedo. Don't be afraid. We have to get counted. And if you don't get counted, your kids are going to lose money for their school. This college right here can be affected if we don't get counted, okay? Si no nos contamos, nos fregamos, okay? Really say that to people. If we don't get counted, we are going to get messed over, all right? I'm saying that in English, okay? Something like that. So I'm getting the signal that we have to wind this up. But again, I just want to say to all of you, remember this, that we have got the power we do have the power to change things. We do have the power to change things. And I mentioned before, when Cesar and I started organizing the farm workers, and in the work that we're doing today with my foundation, because we work with a lot of people that are immigrants, a lot of poor people, and they don't think they have any power, okay? But we have to say to them, where is the power? It's in your person. It's in your person. This is all the power that we need. Because I don't care how much money they have up there, the wealthy ones, we have the people and we have the votes. We have the power to change things. And you have to remember this. If we want a better America, We want a better world. Whose hands is that in? Whose hands is it in? Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question, and I think you know the answer. And the question is a really simple one. I'm going to ask you, who's got the power? Hold on. And I want you to say, we've got the power. And when I say what kind of power, I want you to say people power, okay? But I want you to shout it out so loud that the neo-Nazis can hear us, the homophobes, okay, the misogynists, the sexual harassers, okay, those climate deniers, okay, those anti-immigrant people, we want them to hear us, okay? Are you ready? Okay, I want you to shout really, really loud. Okay. Who's got the power? We got the power. Okay, some people aren't sure. Okay, let's do that one more time. So let's fill up our lungs, okay? I know it's almost lunchtime, but okay, let's go one more time. Pero recio, really loud. Let's go. Who's got the power? We got the power. What kind of power? People power. Okay, so hold on. So are we going to go out there and organize? And remember this, by the way, there was a documentary made called Dolores, easy to remember. It was made by Carlos Santana, the musician, and Peter Bratt was a director. I want you to try to see that movie. You can get it, I think, on maybe YouTube, but on PBS, okay? And Senator Robert Kennedy is shown in that movie. Just before he was killed, he said, we have obligations and responsibilities to our fellow citizens, okay? We have obligations and responsibilities to our fellow citizens. Remember that, okay? So when we do the civic work that I'm asking you to do, to go out there, go door to door, talk to people about the census, talk to people about voting, okay? That's what we're gonna do. So, and don't get tired. I'm 90 years old and I'm not gonna get tired, okay? So are we gonna go out there and organize? What do we say? ¿Se puede o no se puede? That means yes, we can, for those of you that don't know, are bilingually challenged, okay? Okay, so let's do it all together. We have to do it in an organized way. Let's go. Put your hands up. Let's do a unity clap. Saying, sí se puede. Let's go. Sí se. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go out there and organize. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Gracias.
Sí se puede. Y sí se pudo. Everyone, before you go, we have a very special surprise. We welcome you to Nuestra Casa es Su Casa. And we have Dr. Suarez. And on behalf of Orange Coast College and the OCC CLEEO project, we have this honor for you, for all the dedication that you've served our society, and we thank you. Also, I want to give out a shout out to Dr. Tommy Tucson, who accompanied Dolores Huerta here to Orange Coast College. He's a retired lieutenant colonel of the U.S. Army, an attorney, retired police chief, amongst many distinctions. So thank you. Let's give Tommy an applause and Dolores Huerta for joining us.
Y habla español.
Y habla español, muy bien también. So, and again, thank you everyone for today, and be on the lookout for CLEEO project events, and thank you.